I finally made a budget DIY get home or bug out bag for the peasant level survival prepper. I've done quite a few DIY, whether they be get home bags, urban assault kits, bug out bags, fighting bags. I have a very long history of creating these bags, working with these bags, testing them out, using them. This is my current get home bag, which lives in my truck. It is a fantastic beast of a bag made by Randall's Adventure Company. And as much as I love this thing, I'm not gonna lie to you, my kit, my DIY kit, is a mixture of premium products and premium features that cost well over $600. So I like that type of stuff because I know it's gonna do me well. I know I'm gonna be able to rely on that type of stuff. So one of my buddies asked for me, he gave me a budget, he's gonna pay me back for all the crap that I bought. Let's see if we can get this much lower than my bag versus and still have the same functionality. When would you use a get home bag? You break down in some type of country environment or some type of environment away from civilization and you just simply walk to civilization. So for instance, if I'm out at my hunting property and I break down and I'm on my way to the nearest gas station, I will grab my get home bag, maybe walk 2-3 miles to a gas station. But imagine there's also an EMP, some type of civil unrest, right now what's going over there near the Gaza Strip in Israel. Imagine there's something like that happens. I think about that type of stuff. I don't know about you guys. If that were to happen, I want to be able to leave my vehicle where it is, grab a kit, and be able to get home to my family. That's the purpose of these bags. Also, a natural disaster or emergency, such as Katrina or a snowstorm or whatever. Your vehicle's now incapacitated, but your feet still work. Now, this one thing I want to mention is that everything inside this kit is not all inclusive, meaning that for my kit specifically, I always am keeping a changing revolving door of clothing. Right now, I just put a long sleeve 511 shirt and a pair of pants by Columbia with a very good pair of Columbia walking shoes into my bag. Rotated out my shorts because we're entering the fall. You might make sure you do that as well, but jump into the actual bag itself. Everything will be listed down below. Whatever I use, we'll talk about if I bought it, if it was given to me. We'll still, at the end of the day, just make sure we can make this stuff happen. All right, so first let's talk about the bag itself. This is the Roaring Fire Slingshot Tactical Sling Bag. Now, super long name. Okay, let's just keep it real. Not the best of photos on their website or their Amazon page, very Photoshoppy. Holla at me, Roaring Fire, if you want me to help you out with that. Full disclosure, I bought this on Roaring Fire. They saw my email, assumed who I was, and then refunded me my money. So this bag was free, but I intended to buy it. But just I like to do full disclosure with that type of stuff. So let's just talk about the bag itself. This is made of pretty durable, a nylon fabric material, specifically 1000D nylon. YKK zippers all over the entire bag. It has a very nice Y harness in the front. So if you wanted to put some extra stuff on the outside, like a raincoat or a helmet or whatever, you could do that by just simply adjusting this as you see fit with a D-ring at the very end. D-rings all over this thing. So plenty of places to tie down, to strap on. You can use this for, get home bags and that type of stuff as well. But you can also use it for day hiking or fishing or hunting or whatever. Molly webbing, if that's your type of tee, all over the place. That's one of the features I wanted to carry over from my main bag, is just to be able to have lots of areas to attach crap to the bag, but way less money. This thing comes in at 60 bucks. My bag comes in at over 120, normally $150. There are some things about it that I'm not the biggest fan of. I did ruck with this bag. I didn't do too much because I didn't want to sweat this all up before I gave it to my buddy, but it has a very capable, durable strap here at the top. And I think that this thing is actually going to work out pretty well for being able to grab this thing from different angles. As you can see, this thing stands up on its own when it's completely loaded out. It basically stands up on its own when it's empty, but I like the fact that you could plop this thing down. That's another key feature. Even if you don't get this bag, make sure your bag can stand up on its own. Another thing is make sure that the actual sewing, the stitching is top tier for your bag, or something you're going to regret. This bag is no taller than 15 inches. I have it pretty packed down. So when it's empty, it's 9 inches in width. Mine's probably closer to 12. And then, of course, all sorts of features. One thing I like about this thing, it is a sling bag, which may be something that you're not completely interested in. But the fact is this is an asymmetrical sling bag and it's ambidextrous, meaning that no matter which way you decide to wear it, there's this stabilitating strap that hooks onto the front, which goes right across your body, which allows for you to do things like bend over or move left to right, and the bag doesn't move anywhere. That's my largest complaint with sling bags. If you don't have that stabilizing feature, you're going to not enjoy your experience. Now, also just sticking to the strap of the bag, we have the Woobin L50 flashlight. Not the biggest fan of micro USB flashlight rechargeable. It is a rechargeable flashlight, but it does use an 18650 battery. So if you don't like the fact that it is the micro USB, you could also go with their upgraded version, which is called the Woobin C3. But this is going to work for him just fine. It does go out to max 1200 lumens, which is great for if you want to shine a tree line or something like that. You hear a spook in the night, but then you can also run it at its low mode and its normal mode. That's right here in this little pocket. You can also stick stuff in here such as paper towels or bandanas or your cell phone if it's thin enough, and keep that right near you as you're walking. A couple D-rings above it here. You have this D-ring below that you could also, even with that stabilitating strap, you could also hook something else to it, and it seems like that will work out just fine. So some molly webbing that creeps up the actual shoulder strap. On top of that, I do keep a hero clip. This is the medium-sized hero clip. This is by Gear Aid. You guys know I've talked about this plenty of times, but I want the ability to not only hang stuff off of this bag while you're actually rucking or walking home, but now you can take this entire thing, hook it to the top of the bag. Now you can hang this entire bag from a surface and not have to put it on a bathroom floor or a table or whatever. You don't want to gunk it up. So it's really nice to have this carabiner. You don't have to get this size. You can get the smaller version. I just prefer the medium size because it is a lot more durable for stuff like water bottles and carrying the load of this bag. This thing can hold up to 60 pounds very, very easily. Stand on the outside of the bag. We move over to this side and we do have a Reaper. This is an actual breaching or wrecking bar. Now, this is not just good for breaching and wrecking. This also has a very durable blade on it. You can use it for slicing and cutting. You can also use it for wrecking, which is its intended purpose. But the biggest thing about this is you want the ability to, if you get yourself in a jam, to always have different options to get out of those. And so this is cinched down pretty good here. And it comes in at a very reasonable price. If you had to ever evac into a building or something like that during one of those emergencies that I'm hypothesizing or is hypothetical in nature, having a wrecking bar is nice to have. If you need to break into a building or break into a car, get yourself inside, keep yourself safe. I would prefer to have that than not. It does come with a sheath. I think the updated version of this on Amazon comes with a Kydex looking sheath. So next to that is a pair of scissors. Now, this is really going to be for those traumatic first aid type events. If you need to use an Israeli bandage, or somebody has a sunken chest wound, or even if you're treating yourself, being able to cut your clothing off instead of taking it off the traditional way may be critical because you may not have the ability to take it off, especially if you're critically hurt. So very, very capable but affordable pair of shears. As mentioned before, you do have that Y feature in the front. You can keep this here. You can put extra items there, just a nice feature. Another thing about this actual Y feature is that you can use this to cinch the bag down even further. So if you want the bag to have a smaller footprint, you can use this actual strap to cinch the bag down even more, which is going to make it feel a little bit more streamlined and more like a little ball on your back instead of bouncing all over the place. And it definitely loosens itself up very easily. Sticking on the outside real quick, we also have on this side, we do have a double insulated water bottle, Marine X version. So let me know if you guys might want to pick up some of these things. But it's important for you to be able to have water on the go, on the fly. Right next to that are a bunch of zip ties. Zip ties can come in handy if you find something, if a door you need to shut. So these can be impromptu locks for a door. This can be a way to restrain someone. This can be a way to hold additional items to your bag because you only have one carabiner. The very back of the bag has a CCW compartment. You can decide to store stuff inside in here, or you can use it as its intended purpose. So it does have loop paneling on the inside. So if you have a Velcro holster, Kydex holster, or whatever, you can put that in there. Keep your CCW ready to rock and roll. Has mesh webbing, which is going to be really good for rucking. Listen, I'm really big into rucking, really big into moisture wicking when I'm rucking. This type of stuff on the shoulder strap, those are things I notice when I know I'm going to be taking a bag for a nice long Right. So one thing about this bag is you're going to be using it for all sorts of scenarios. And I mentioned keeping clothing at the ready. I do have some knock around sunglasses. These are Ray-Bans. Now you don't have to get these. These are pretty expensive. Now, this is just an example of some sunglasses. He's going to put his own inside of this thing. But just any type of knock around sunglasses you don't care about hitting or knocking up against other things are going to be suitable. I would recommend you also make sure that they're polarized. It's going to be really nice to have that when you're rucking or walking down the side of the road. Also up here, we do keep a headlamp. Now, I recommend if you do have a headlamp, try, first off, you don't have to spin an entire bag on a headlamp. This is a very generic no-name headlamp because you're not really using this to illuminate the way while you're walking, or let your eyes get used to the moonlight. You're really using this if you need to shine, if you're trying to work at night, if you want to work hands-free. I recommend you keep the batteries separated from the headlight until you need to actually use it. That's going to keep these things from busting and corroding and all that type of stuff. And if that were to happen with these batteries, at least they're separate from the headlight. You can buy some more or grab some more, acquire some more, and still be able to use the headlight. In here as well, we do have a survival lightweight blanket. You can use this at nighttime to keep yourself warm. You can also use this as a windbreak. You can use this for being able to signal if you're trying to gain someone's attention if you get hurt. Behind that, we do keep a lensmatic compass. I like to be able to keep an accurate compass. You can keep a base plate compass, a lensmatic compass, a button compass, whatever the case may be. Whether you print a local map for your area or you buy a local map for your area, that way you can know which direction you're going, because if your cell phone dies, you're not very good at land navigation. At least the basics of a compass will make it so that you can ensure you're at least walking in the correct direction. So that pocket also is going to leave for you to put whatever else inside that you may see fit. Also here, I do have it does have a little bit of loop handling that you can put on here. You might want to put, if you have any medical allergies or whatever. I put this on here just for a little joke from him because he is a dad. So very front pocket here. Now this is kind of a pocket of a mask. This has a filtration mask. This is not going to be the best for keeping all particles and dirts, but it does have its own type of carbon filters inside. So you can try your best just in case there's some type of toxins in the air. RZ Mask makes some fantastic masks because they're really good at filtering 99% of harmful particles. I keep the one that's installed in the actual mask, and then I keep an additional filter as well. For this bag, we just use a simple bandana. You can use this also around your face. He's bald, so he can put this over his head if he doesn't have it. If he fails to keep a cap with him, you can use this to wipe your face. You can use this for all sorts of reasons. Having a bandana with you is just super, super useful. And then also just having some Kleenex with you just as a comfort item. These are very finite in nature. They're going to run out and go away pretty quickly. But if you have to stop, blow your nose, freaking drop a deuce, whatever, you're going to be ready to rock and roll. Still plenty of room also in here if you want to add small paper towels that inflate when you get them wet. If you want to add, other type of things like a silcock key or whatever, you can put that inside of here as well. Plenty of room for additionals. Behind that has another pocket that opens with nice roll down features. So if you really wanted to, you could roll this pocket within itself and keep it open at all times if you really, really wanted to. That's really up to you, however you want to rock it. But in the very front here, we do keep some winter gloves. I mentioned that we have a change of clothes that you should put in your vehicle, but you have the items like beanies and gloves, bandanas. You can stick those directly in this bag. I recommend you have some type of thermal lining inside your winter gloves to keep your little phalanges as warm as possible, because as your body gets cold, it's going to pull blood from your extremities. Very front here, we do have the Kaiser Justice 2. Now, I was not a fan of this sheath. I actually had to do a video and fix the Kodak sheath that it came in. Make sure you follow me on Instagram to check stuff out like that. But other than that, this is a D2 steel, full tang. This thing comes in for less than 60 bucks. My Carta scales, I almost like this thing more than the actual knife I keep in my loadout. I use a Hogue EXF01 in my loadout. Much bigger knife, beefier knife. It also has a tool just in case the hardware were to come loose. So I'm a big fan of what I carry, but mine's like a $200 knife where you can just pick this thing up for 60 bucks, Can I do more with mine? Probably so. Am I going to be able to take down a larger tree? He didn't really want to, he wasn't too keen on having like a name brand pair of multipliers. He really didn't care about having multipliers at all, but I think that it's nice to have multipliers with you and ready to rock at any time. So these are some no name multipliers I bought on Amazon. Now, I bought these a long time ago. I'm giving him my personal experience with these things because I bought them to see would they be viable. Only thing is they're butterfly style, so you got to actually put pressure down to keep them closed. All sorts of tools inside of this thing. My only biggest complaint about the thing is the fact that it is a butterfly style, so you have to actually press down to keep it closed. And you can't access any of the tools while it is closed. That's one of my favorite features with Leatherman multi-tools. All right, so jumping into the main part of this bag, we do have a little bit of emergency drinking water. This is only about 1 day worth of water. It has instructions on specifically how to drink this stuff. So you want to make sure that you says drink no water first 24 hours unless sick or injured or in desert conditions. Thereafter, approximately 8 ounces to each. There's 2 each. So there's 4 ounces per bag per day minimum. So basically, these are for emergency situations. My hope would be that we could initially use water with the actual water bottle we can find on the side of a building. These have a specific expiration date on the front of 2024. So this is not a clamshell style opening. It's just a peak style opening. I do prefer a clamshell because it kind of gives you a better sense if you're missing something or your actual inventory, but it does have a high vis orange interior. So one thing I like is I'm a big fan of Soka. So Soka makes a lot of survival type of stuff. This is the Soka survival kit. This is a day hiker survival kit. And these are kind of like all-in-one kits that if you just buy these kits, you know for a fact that the items inside are always going to be the same every single kit that you buy. So if you want to make multiple kits, it has a little bit of redundancy with the emergency blanket, a little bit of like, sting prep and stuff like that. But if you just want to buy these kits from Soka and just know that you're going to have what you need in any of your, whether it's a get home, we do have a little bit of paracord. This is some stuff where it is a utility cord, which is also another name for a parachute cord. And you can use this for all sorts of stuff. This stuff is used in the construction of parachutes, so it's very durable, very strong material. I'm keeping it in the packaging so he won't have to worry about it unraveling all over itself. A little bit more of emergency food. In theory, you shouldn't have to worry about eating. You probably can get away with like some Cliff Bars or something like that. But if you feel like you are the type of person that needs to have full-fledged rations, you can also go with Daytrex. They're emergency rations. Taste like crap, but they will keep you fed. You just want to make sure that you absolutely hydrate. We do have a full-size tarp in here, so we do have a couple of emergency blankets, which are fantastic, but they're not as durable as a tarp. A full-size tarp does have grommet holes in it. This one here is by Red Camp. The thing about a tarp, I think this one is 7x7 or maybe it's 8x8. I don't remember. I'll link this up down below. But you can use this as a tent. You can also use this as a windbreak. You can use this as a water catch. You can use this as a hammock if that's what you really want to be more comfortable. Or you can put this on the ground so you don't have to lay directly in dirt. Emergency blankets are cool, but they tend to rip, especially if they're not the highest of quality, which the ones in this bag are not necessarily, especially if you're wearing boots. You're not going to rip this with a pair of boots on. You should be fine. And if you have room for it, you might as well stick it in there. Now, Vessel didn't impress me a couple of years ago, but their products have changed significantly. And these all-in-one kits give you a sense of peace. The very bottom of the kit is a flashlight, so you have a sense of redundancy there with the extra flashlight. The very top of the kit, you can put whatever you want on top. The actual original screw-on lid for this thing was just a carabiner with no compass. I switched it out with another Vessel lid, which has a compass on top. So now you have another. So now this kit has 3 ways to have a compass on it. It also has a built-in carabiner. So now once you begin to ruck, you can transfer this thing from the inside of your bag to the outside and hook it to it. They have all these little tins in here inside, which label exactly what they have inside, what they're used for, and how they can be useful for your journey. First thing in here is a kit which is specifically for rope and razor and blade. Exactly what it says is in there. It's a little piece of nylon rope, has a little razor blade. So you can use both of those if you need to use it for twine. And then you just simply can drop it in here and it sits into this thing very, very easily. The next thing in here is a 4-hour candle. So a 4-hour candle could be very, very useful to be able to burn and just have a sense of not only a fire, but just have a little bit of comfort for wherever you may be. If you're in a cabin of a vehicle, if you're trying to start a fire, that might be nice to have. A little bit of fishing line and tackle. This is actually very, very, one thing I will say about this kit is it has more inside than I imagined. It has a bunch of hooks inside, bait inside, worms inside, and fishing line inside. So if you wanted to go fish, I don't know why you would if you're trying to get home. But maybe you're so far in the country where you do need to actually try to fish. That has not only the fishing line, but it has bait in there as well. This has trail marking tape, a little bit better than duct tape. This kit has 2 pieces of duct tape inside, but trail marking tape is going to help you if you're trying to find your way out and find your way back. If you're walking through a trail, you can use this with your knife and use this to mark on trees or on limbs. Or if you want somebody to find you as you go deeper into the trail, you want some trail marking tape. It's first aid tape as well, so you can use that to hold down different cuts or whatever. And if you're trying to hold down some guys. Finally, a fire starting kit. I believe in redundancies for all your kits. A fire starting kit has anything inside in here, such as tinder. It has a little bit of fire striker, just any of those little things inside that give you a little bit of comfort that, hey, my one part of my kit got wet. Let me go to my backup. Now, these are a couple of tins that you can just DIY yourself. So one of these has a wet dry bag by Matador. So you can use this wet dry bag if you have something that is wet that you want to keep dry away from the other sides in this bag. Or if you have something dry that you don't want to get wet, you can put it in this bag, such as a pair of shoes or socks or your map or something like that. You can grab this, and now you have a way to keep stuff away from touching other items. These are paper towels, and these paper towels actually, once these touch water, they become a full-size paper towels. They're about Big Otters. Basically, you wet these, they absorb the water, they become a full-size paper towel. So obviously, you're not going to use them for drying. You're going to be using them for wiping, cleaning. Maybe you want to wipe your face down. You don't want to use your bandana and junk it all up. Having paper towels is a nice to have. So now you got all that stuff in here. This lid just literally screws on top. So having the Soka kit may be a redundancy, but I like having both, especially when it's so slim. It's just this long, slender thing. It has a SOS feature on the flashlight or a regular feature on the flashlight as well. So as we look into the back, we continue to see in the very, very back, there's a slip pocket. That pocket's about big enough to fit like an 11-inch iPad. You might be able to send like a 13-inch laptop in here, but if you're using it for something other than survival or fishing or something like that. This is a much more durable, much larger survival blanket. The 2 survival blankets that you saw in here earlier, this is gonna wrap your entire body up, and it's way more durable, less prone to ripping, and you probably can reuse this and multiple times. This is an actual street map for the area that he lives in. He lives in Denton, Texas. So it has the street map for all of his entire areas in Denton. But you want to make sure that you either go to a website, print off your local maps, go on your phone and download your local maps so that they're able to be used in offline version, or literally physically buy some maps. This thing costs $7. But now, along with all your freaking stupid compasses, you're going to be able to navigate and try to find your way back home. And this is going to be good for all the surrounding areas. This is a tube tent. Tube tent with that paracord is going to be a way to try to keep yourself dry, to keep yourself. I'm always thinking about worst case scenarios. Yeah, it's a get home bag, but you just don't know what could happen. You have the room for it. The bag's not that heavy. A full size tube tent, run this down the middle, tie it to 2 trees, cinch it down to the earth. You have a very large, capable tent, which is significantly stronger than the survival tents, but it's not making you use your tarp, and it might as well just throw it in here if you have the room. A raincoat. Now, the raincoat, I'd keep this thing sealed up. It's ready to rock and roll. This raincoat is big enough to cover you in the bag. So if you want to put the bag onto your body and then cover you in the bag itself, I would recommend at least getting a raincoat that's big. My raincoat is like $150, right? I love it. It's fantastic. It's tactical, but it's overkill. This is significantly cheaper and it still gets the job done just as well. Moving on to the other side of the bag. So you can see here that the bag also has these little pockets here. It's like a bunch of slip pockets here. So the first part of the slip pocket is ferro rod and striker. And just make sure whatever ferro rod and striker you get, you test it out. Some of them come with other kits and they're not very good. Like some of these work much better versus, so this one here, the actual striker might be okay. So you just want to make sure whichever one that you get, provides a spark. If the striker sucks, you should also be able to use your knife as a striker, just in case you break your striker or whatever the case may be. So if the striker sucks, whatever, you want to be able to have the redundancies either or, but make sure you test your actual striker out. A little bit of some baddest B. These are fire fuses. This is enough fire fuses to start like probably 8 or 9 fires. These things here, you can pull them out. You can take out one fuse at a time. You can even cut the fuses in half. These are pretty long. I think there are what? There are about 8 or 10 of these in there. You can cut them in half. So you probably could start 20 fires with these things pretty easily. Below that in this thing is an additional pocket. It might be actually kind of hard to see, but there's an entire slit pocket inside of here. And in that pocket is what I like to call my MacGyver section, okay? So everything so far kind of is a self-explanatory thing of how to use it, when to use it. First thing in there is a big lighter, okay? So the big lighter, of course, we got another redundancy. If when in doubt, you go with an actual lighter instead of a striker and all that other type of stuff. There's a little bit of snare wire. You might be able to use this if you need to trap food, which if you're going home, you're getting home, you probably won't have to use this, but you can also use this to tie stuff down. This is about 50 feet of, I think this is 20 gauge wire. It's snare wire, but it's just stainless steel wire. But I think it's 20 gauge, but usually the lower the gauge, the stronger it is. This is some more actual duct tape, similar to what we had inside of some of those kits. This is enough duct tape to seal a door shut. So you need about 19 feet of duct tape to seal a door shut in an emergency situation. That's all wrapped around an expired credit card, so you can keep a little bit of extra duct tape in there. I mean, so what do you think? Would you DIY a get home bag? Do you have one already? Are you just going to buy one? I've done videos on some get home bags that you can just purchase. I'll link those up for you as well. Or you can just make a kit, whichever one works for you. My opinion, you should have some ability to either A, get home if something happens to your vehicle, or B, sit in your own vehicle comfortably, whether that's with small candles or wool blankets. We'll talk about that in another video. If you don't have one of those two, then you're probably going to be SOL in an emergency situation. If this is your first time stopping by, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, I'm not talking to you. You've already done your goddamn job. I appreciate you once again for watching me run my grave. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.